And whatever comes to mind, without judgment, allow it to be the gift of this morning. For in spirit, for with spirit, there's no judgment. It can be something that you want changed, something that you are wanting help, something that you want to deepen in yourself. I often think that in meditation, all we are asked to do is to bring ourselves, that which we carry in our horizontal experience, in our earthly experience, into the moment. And it is the Father's good pleasure to give you what you have need of, but you must bring it. You have free choice. You must do the knocking. You must do the seeking. Remember that wonderful promise. Can you ask this morning the presence of Spirit? Can you find yourself knocking, opening the door, reaching across? Again, there is nothing you need to do. Just open the door. Just say, yes, I am willing. We want to bring people into our circle. We have several people who we are thinking of in our circle that we want to include. You have people in your circle. Remember, I visualize all of us being hubs for people that we pray for, that we care for, that we carry in our lives. Maybe there are people that you even want to speak silently their name, just to yourself. And we bring them into the richness of this circle. Divine order right now is established in your life. And divine order is a realignment to absolute good. Divine order is an alignment to absolute wholeness. Divine order is an alignment to absolute expansion and growth and renewed life. And I see that for the people with whom we pray and for whom we pray. Divine order is established in your life, and you are aligned with divine wholeness. Divine order is the gift of this morning. We know it for ourselves and for our unity center and our city and our world. And we powerfully declare it is so. Amen. And amen. Bring yourself back, please, very gently. Open your eyes softly. I will say some things today that you already know. I usually do. But it's the same for me. Every morning that I prepare, I come across things I've known for years, and yet they light up. And I will bring things to you from what is happening now and what has happened in the past, because I came across a couple of things that, it feels to me like when we come together, we are gatherer of pearls that we gather from different experiences, from different unity sources. One of them is that last Sunday I said we are going to look at living the mystical life today, living as everyday mystics, not mystics in the concept of the monk who lives up in the mountains and withdraws from everyday life. No, the mystic that lives in everyday life. So I want to say something about being a mystic. But I want to begin with what caught my attention most of all. I came across a reading that was a response to 9/11. Remember 9/11? What happened there in the States? And I'm aware that we're living in a very dramatic time. And I'm aware that as somebody who is a minister, I want to bring us to the awareness that rushing back, now everybody wants to go back to the normal life. And I want to bring to us some consideration about what do we want to bring back to the normal life from the past. What was normal, do we want to bring it forward? And that applies to so many things right now, from the physical to the organizational, to how we are together, how you are in your life, how you live your life, how your daily life is unfolded. What of today, the way you've been living in the last 2.5 months, do you want to bring forward to what you call going back to the normal life? The word apocalyptic, some people have been using that, and it's in this reading that I'm going to be doing to you from Charles Filmer. This word apocalyptic is a very important word, because what we are interpreting it meaning something has globally caught our attention, right? Well, in the Greek, really in the Greek root transition, it means an unveiling. Unveiling. V. It's not a W. V. Unveiling. An unveiling. And I believe this is so true. It's so rare, and it's so exceptional that we are alive in this time on this planet when we have several things happening that shake the status quo, that force change, or at least the pause button, the press pause button. So I come across Gary Jones, Unity minister and one of the professors at Unity Seminary, responding to what happened to 9/11. And what he did was he was saying, I have no words. I don't want to have words about what has happened. But I am reading to you something that comes from Charles Fillmore, from his atom smashing power of the mind. There are some words in it that are really outdated, so you know, that was 100 years ago, but here we are. People everywhere on earth are now realizing as never before that the well-being of this world rests with its inhabitants. The dominion and authority God gave to his image and likeness has assumed such reality that even the most trivial person can understand and tremble at the prospect of what might come to pass if dominion is given to misuse. The moral and spiritual standard of the race must be raised the world over as the one and ultimate source of safety. It is up to us. This means that every person must begin on him and herself, and as it dawns, let the light shine, then imparting it to others. This is still Fillmore. This is not a religious question, but a matter of life and death. Not a question of hell after death, but of survival here and now, of everybody and everything one holds dear. We must be taught the nearness of the spiritual man and woman, the necessity of incorporation into the consciousness of the spiritual man into our everyday life. This work is done right here on this planet. And we are here at a time when this teaching, when this awareness, when this call, this wake-up call is given. And we are here when we are, it's not a 9/11, it's a totally different story now. It pertains to our physical well-being, our health, but it's pandemic, it's all over the world. And it pertains to our economy. It pertains also to the worldly issues that you're seeing around you. And we are here at this time with our teaching, that we are given this teaching. So, the rush to normalcy. Are we ready for normalcy? I don't think we are. We are not ready for normalcy till we have chosen. This is like I told you all last Sunday about the press pause button. This is a press pause. It's a rare situation. And what are you taking right now from the teaching and making a new commitment into it? I want to say something about a couple of ideas, because I think that's where the mystical life is all about. You know, being a mystic, what does it mean? We all believe we are metaphysicians in unity, but more and more now we are realizing that we are moving from a metaphysical standpoint, not away from it, but we are expanding it to the realization of being everyday mystics. And what does it mean? It means a realization that the moment a teaching is written down, held in books, taught in a hierarchical, systematic way, the spirit is frozen. It's the letter of the law. Are you with me? So yes, we study the metaphysics, But then what did Mr. Fillmore do? He left us very little in writing. We got a few books: Christian Healing, Adam Smashing Power of the Mind, Jesus Christ Heals, Prosperity. That's it. And then he went like this. He said, I don't want to, I don't want to make a religion out of it. Because he knew that the moment you make a religion out of it and you write it down and you make people study it from books, the spirit starts leaving. And so the realization has dawned on the people in charge of unity that we are basically needing to expand to the mystical dimension, where we're saying to people like you and me and everyone here, it's only as good as the relationship you can establish with your spirit.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
If the teaching has any value, it is leading you to a relationship with your spirit. One that's as real as a relationship you'd have with a loved one. Even better then, because it's ongoing. And the mystic is a person who looks for, instead of knowledge out of books, he looks or she looks for experiences of the divine, experiences of God, experiences of nature, of God in nature. It's all about experiences. The metaphysician and then the mystic. And so it's not any more difficult than that, any more complicated than that. It's a step from what you're reading. For example, what Gloria just read has to be followed by a meditation. It has to be followed by a meditation. And I know it's not easy for some of us. We want to read, we want to hear words, we want. And the mystic, of course, says God is in all. God is in everything. God is in the very thing that's going on in my life. It's going on in this COVID-19. It's going on in what's going on in the economy. I have friends who are so concerned about, what this is doing to the economy, for example, or it goes on and on. So I want to give you some ideas of how to go into this week. I started to talk last Sunday about the caregiver mentality, the caregiver archetype. A lot of unity, a lot of people on the spiritual path have a very strong caregiver archetype. We have activated that archetype in our soul. We want to help. And some of us have tried to help and seen that we have not even been very successful. So I want to share a couple of things with you about that. But first, because of the mystic story of God is in all, God is in all, God is in the very thing that you're dealing with right now, God is in all. I have a little funny story here. There's a little boy, he's coming to his grandmother and he's telling her all the woes about his life. He's not doing well in school and he's having problems in school and he's not feeling well because in his family there is discord, etc. Well, meanwhile, grandmother is baking a cake and she's there and asks the child to sit with her. and asks the child if he would like a snack. And the kid says, yes, of course. So grandma says, well, here, have some cooking oil. Kid tastes the cooking oil and it's awful. He says, oh, yuck. And then she says, well, how about a couple of raw eggs here? You want to have a snack there? And he puts his finger in it and he goes again, you know. That's gross, Grandma. And then she said, would you like some flour then? Or maybe some baking soda? And the boy said, well, it's all very yucky. It's just awful. What is this? And then Grandma says, yes, all those things seem bad all by themselves. But when they are put together in the right way, they make a delicious cake. God works the same way. Many times we wonder why He would let us go through such bad and difficult times. But God knows that when He puts these things all in His order, they always work for good. They always make a good cake. Meaningful times, significant times in our lives often are not very tasty, right? Right? They have been even yucky or gross or impossible to swallow. I, as you know, was trained long time ago as a psychotherapist, and in a Jungian orientation, I have always been very, he was one of my teachers. His name is James Hollis, and he talks about that happiness is really not our goal, but what is and has to be our goal is meaning. So as you, as a metaphysician and mystic, who is practicing more and more, not changing what is, but embracing what is, not using affirmations or the mind to change things, but to embrace them, going through that middle road, going through that time, going through that life of the mystic, where whatever comes your way, you put your arm around it and you say, I'm bringing it to Spirit. It's an opportunity to a closer relationship with Spirit, and most of all, a conversation with Spirit. He calls that meaning. Bringing meaning into your awareness as being the goal. Just think about that this week. Not happiness, not contentment, meaning. Because when I do that, I reflect back on Viktor Frankl. Many of you have probably heard of the man. He had written a bestseller called The Search for Meaning. And he wrote it after his experience in a concentration camp during the Second World War. And what kept him alive was the one thought that he hung on to that gave him meaning. Not happiness, not food, not warmth. Meaning was that he wanted to see his granddaughter again. Meaning. Meaning. And meaning can be present and can be with you as you look over your life and can look over what's going on right now. What is the meaning for me in this time? What is the meaning for me as I'm going through this? And I'm present and I'm witnessing what's going on a global scale. So, the caregiver you, me. I said last Sunday that the time that you are helping and are at your caregiver, even at the exhaustion of being the caregiver, you like yourself. At a very fundamental level, there is a sense of meaning. So I want to close with something about nature. I have a fascination, or I just love sunflowers. And whenever I see them at the grocery store, I buy a bunch. Well, my sunflowers, they stand up for about 2 days and then they start dropping their heads. And I am known to prop them up with little sticks, you know. Or if it gets really bad, I cut the stem and I put them into a bowl. But out in nature, I have seen, right here in my own garden, that life finds its way.
Don't go wrong.
I have a plant out here that I adore. It's an aromatic sage, and it was gone. It was dead. And then I found that it had found, even lying down, it had found a way to start sprouting again. It's a re-emerging. I read here, caregiving is an act of celebration which nurtures each other's best traits while healing our worst. So what is this caregiver? Maybe you don't have anybody in your life right now that you feel like you are a caregiver to. So I want to leave you with the thought of being a caregiver to yourself. How about making a week of doing something for yourself that is really like, I've always wanted to go on a diet, or I've always wanted to start walking twice a day instead of once a day. I've always wanted to do something for myself. Become a caregiver to yourself, to bring that energy into your week, to be the flower that or the plant that finds, even in lying down, the ability to stand up. And I want to close with something that is very much personal. It's very much myself. As you know, there's been some turbulence in more than one way in our recent days, and I've had a few responses. I've had a few moments where people, you know, here is the sunflower and the head is going like that, and I put up these sticks, right, holding up the sunflower. And these emails, these responses were like holding up the sunflower. And I'm saying to you, maybe this week you could give each other a little hello, or a little email, or a little, just a little. I don't know how expressive you are in saying something loving to your immediate family member or to the neighbor, but just choose one or two people that you're going to be a burst of affection, tenderness, and see how good it feels. And so what I do is I see you there on the screen right now, all of you, and I'm bursting loving, affectionate thoughts to you. You're looking also serious. Can you give a smile? Can you all smile? Okay, all right, wonderful. And I want to close. You are everyday mystics. Caregiving is at the core of your being. Activate it toward yourself. Say something to Spirit during the week, deepening your conversation with Spirit. And I want to say, you are blessed beyond measure of being on this planet at this very challenging time. Each one of you can make a significant difference to yourself, to me, to the center, to the world. So your love offerings are dearly appreciated. Yes, PayPal works. It's clear it works. And of course your checks are received at the church, and we have William, wonderful William, going in and picking them up and making the deposit. So we are keeping the room open a little bit for sharing after this. I just want to close with our blessing to each other. Smile. Namaste only works if you smile. Namaste to all of you. Thank you for being here. Namaste, namaste, namaste. And I'm keeping, like I say, the room is open. If we can have virtual coffee now and virtual cake. And you might have some questions about how we're doing and what's happening in terms of opening and closing and not opening. Yes, Marjorie.
Sorry, I did that by accident, but.
Oh, okay.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste, namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Well, yes, Sharifa, yeah.
Do you know when the church is going to open?
Well, it's something to do. Let me turn off my